Hey SmartPak fans, I'm SmartPaker Dan. She's Dr. Lydia Gray, SmartPak staff veterinarian and medical director, and we're here to answer horse health questions asked and voted on by you. Now this month, Dr. Gray did something a little bit different for us. She presented some information on grazing muzzles, a research study that was done.
On minis.
On minis, which who doesn't love to hear a research study about minis? So definitely check that one out. We presented that information in the video leading up to this one asking for your questions. So we'll link in the description for that one so you guys can check that one out. But on to this month's questions. So question number 1 was asked by Equestrian Grace on Instagram, and they want to know, how often should you work/exercise your horse? Also, how often should hard-working horses get a break? Now, this one received a lot of feedback on our YouTube community poll.
Great.
So McKenna Sauer said, I always wonder how much time my horse needs off, especially after a hard ride, or if I'm giving too much time off. And then Giddy Up 628, love the name by the way, said, what is the proper work-rest ratio for horses? My horse is very energetic and I don't want to overwork her, but if she's not riding consistently, she'll go bonkers. We've all been there. What's the right course of action? P.S. I love your videos.
Oh, okay. Well, I went back to my go-to book. And you can tell it's my go-to book because look, I mean, this thing is...
It's pretty used.
It's ratty. But it's Conditioning Sport Horses by Dr. Hillary Clayton. And I marked all the passages in here. So I'm going to do like a Mr. Roberts or Mr. Rogers and read passages from the little book today. Because I think it answers our questions perfectly. I wasn't sure though if they meant the work-rest ratio. It sounds like if I work a day, do I give them a day off?
Yeah. That's how I interpret it.
The other issue is in a workout, when you're building a horse's fitness or conditioning them, there is, and you do interval training, there is a ratio of like when I jog, like a minute walk, a minute jog, a minute, like that. Okay. So strenuous exercise does have wide-ranging effects on the body. The rapid use of energy causes the blood sugar to fall and depletes glycogen reserves. Metabolic wastes accumulate, and fibers are actually torn in the muscles and ligaments and tendons, so you have to heal all those.
Yes.
Okay. If large amounts of sweat are lost, then the fluid electrolyte balance gets upset. Between workouts, then, the body recuperates, the metabolic wastes are flushed out of the system, the glycogen stores are replenished, torn fibers are repaired, and the blood sugar, fluid, and electrolyte levels are restored to normal. Okay. So you do need time to recover. In fact, the cycle of tissue destruction and repair is an essential part of the conditioning process. That's how you get better, because that's how you get stronger. When you work out, you're actually tearing muscle fibers, and as they build, they're growing.
That's how they get stronger, when the muscle rebuilds itself.
Yeah. So there has to be sufficient time for complete regeneration between successive workouts, and this usually requires 2 or more days, depending on the extent of the damage.
Wow.
So like if it was a competition, like a 3-day event, that would be several days. Okay. Light exercise, though, may actually hasten the repair process. So it's not necessary for the horse to have complete rest. So probably the worst thing to do is put them in a stall rest. Yeah. You want to like hack them lightly the next day.
That's like after you have a hard workout and then the next day you do nothing and sit on your couch, you just feel
That's terrible. You get stiff. If strenuous workouts are performed too frequently, however, there is insufficient time for rebuilding, and then the rate of tissue breakdown exceeds the rate of tissue repair, and then your horse is predisposed to injury.
That's what I was going to say. You start seeing those injuries.
Yep, and it's got a name. It's called overconditioning. So if you're interval training, I'll just give you this little, I'm not sure anybody asked, but I'll just give you this factoid. The work-rest ratio in a workout is 1-to-1 or 1-to-2 for aerobic.
Okay.
For anaerobic, it's more like 1-to-5 or 1-to-6. Anaerobic would be like a sprint.
Gotcha.
Like in high school when you did those sprints to the middle line and back.
Yes.
Okay. Then you would do one and then you would rest for 5 times as long as that.
Okay.
That's what that means. So if you're not using oxygen to get it done, it's a sprint. It's like a barrel race. You rest longer.
Okay.
Got
So
it?
quick spurt and then long rest.
But if you're doing if you're jogging, then it's a 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. The frequency, when the objective is to improve fitness, the recommended frequency for cardiovascular conditioning and strength training, those are the 2 areas that you're working on, is 2 or 3 times a week, with at least one intervening day between workouts. For maintenance, once your horse is at the level that you want, you're just maintaining the level, then it's 1 or 2 hard workouts a week is sufficient.
Okay, so like so let's say it's, after winter, it's springtime, you're trying to get ready for show season. Now that's when you're going to be doing one hard day, maybe a couple days of light riding or days off to kind of get your horse built up into that condition. And then once you're in show season,
then you're maintaining.
Then you're just maintaining.
Yeah.
1 hard day a week
and
or something
somewhere
like that.
in here it talks about the time to strength train your horse, which seems weird to talk about strength training.
Yeah.
Think about how horses lift weights, is the winter actually.
Mm.
And they can, if you do it right, you plan right, they can build muscle 50 to 100% improvement from like fall to spring.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So here's another one. As a general rule, horses should not perform the same type of conditioning exercise on consecutive days. Minimize the risk of overloading injuries due to insufficient time between workouts or repair.
So if you're doing the same type of workout, you're going to be using the same type of muscle groups, which therefore you could add strain and stress to those particular muscles.
And you're not improving, you're not building, you're not giving them time to repair themselves. So I'm telling you, this book, you guys, is amazing. When the objective is to increase cardiovascular fitness, aerobic workouts are 3 times a week on alternate days, which allows time for tissue repair and rebuilding between workouts. Later stages, they go on a 2 weekly cycle. So she recommends 3 to 5 cardiovascular workouts every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Will maintain. To maintain, it's sufficient for a horse to perform cardiovascular workouts so once or twice a week.
So, and do you think with some of it, though, is just kind of using a little bit of intuition or knowing your own horse and, making sure that you're paying attention to, is he seeming a little stiff? Should I back off a little bit? Should I give him a couple more days to recover?
And a heart rate monitor is maybe a good tool in
yeah.
this case, especially if you're conditioning. So, so anything you can do to either know your horses, like when you pull them out, are they excited to work, or are they like, oh, more work? Because how long does it take to warm up? She says suppling work, because there's cardiovascular, there's strength training, and suppling. Suppling should be done every day. That is not something that you have to alternate or wait on, because that improves your horse's range of motion, suppleness.
I call those my yoga rides.
Those your yoga rides, yeah. So, just to mention, so strength training in horses is things like hill work over poles, gymnastic jumping. For a dressage horse, it would be like doing a 20-meter circle, and half of the circle would be a collected canter, and then half you let him go, and then you collect and you let him go. So it's all the same as humans. It's reps and sets. So pretty cool.
Reps and sets out there.
Reps and sets.
Well, perfect. Well, I think that's some good advice. So we do a hard day, a couple days off to recover, and then once we're kind of in shape, maybe 1 hard day, and then just kind of maintenance after that.
And then not complete rest in between, but light hack, some sort of light work. Even if it's a hand walker on the property, could be lunging.
Just let them kind of move their muscles and get loosened up.
Yep.
Well, perfect. Well, let us know how that does and make sure your horse gets all muscled up for us. So question number 2 was submitted by Sarah Chopin on Instagram. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. I apologize. But she would like to know, how should you introduce a new horse to a very protective herd? 3 mares and a gelding who are all very protective of each other and don't want the new guy near their friends. And she also said, love the videos. We can put a link in the playlist with all the videos about horses moving to new barns. We've definitely have done quite a few of those, so we can put that in there for resources for you. But what advice do you have for
There's
Sarah?
also a blog that I wrote called Protecting My Pony from Our Pushy Pasture Mates. I don't know why I didn't call it Pushy Pasture Pals.
Pushy
That would have
Pals.
been great. So I just did this, because I just got a new horse.
Yes, you did.
And I found the advice I'm going to give you today just recently, but we used it, fortunately.
This is what you used? Okay.
Yeah, so it worked great. It's a little stressful, but it worked great. And the advice comes from Catherine Hope, who is a veterinarian and PhD. She's professor emeritus from Cornell Vet School. And one of the most important things is knowing your herd, knowing the individuals in your herd, know the rank. Right?
So who is like head honcho and who is like low man on totem pole?
And know their personalities. Like, are they aggressive? Are they welcoming? Are they food aggressive? I mean, you got to know your horses. And then while you're doing this introducing, adjust your management routine. You have to be flexible. Now here's the problem. If you board you don't have that flexibility maybe. So I get it. It's tough if you're not the one making the decisions that owns the property.
Yeah.
It can be tough. So probably should pull the hind shoes.
That's a smart move.
Yeah,
That's a smart move.
Also, take a walking tour of the pasture. We did this and just made sure that the whole thing was safe. There were no broken boards. There were no protruding nails. There were no holes in the pasture because we knew there was going to be some running.
Yeah.
Right. This is important too. Block off any dead spaces. So hopefully your turnout areas and pastures are built without more than 90 degree, smaller, I guess, than 90-degree corners.
Okay.
Corners are not good because horses get trapped in them and then bad things happen. But even like if there's a lean-to or a shed or something, I want to close it off so they all can't go in there and then pummel the new guy.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That wouldn't be good.
No. This is what we did. Turn the new guy out in an adjoining paddock for 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
And let them get to know each other over a fence.
So they can see each other, but
Smell
they're not,
each other.
but not necessarily
They
touch.
can make those elephant noises that they do. You're like, that came from my horse, but he's so lovely. That then means your fences have to be in good shape. If you have barbed wire, if you have rickety fences, this is not going to work because the whole thing here is keeping everybody safe, right? Then we did this too. Move a middle-ranking, non-aggressive horse in with the newcomer.
Okay, middle ranker.
What you want is to have the new horse bond with someone that will protect them a little bit, gives them a friend, and then introduces them to the rest of the herd. Like, this is my new buddy.
Interesting. So why is the middle ranking not like the lowest ranking one?
Well, interestingly, the low-ranking horses, she says, might be most aggressive because they're, here's how sneaky horses are. The low-ranking horses might use this opportunity of chaos to move up in status.
He's like, this is my moment. I'm going to make sure I'm ahead of this guy.
Yeah. And that the top, I thought you were going to ask you why you wouldn't use the top-ranking horse.
That I feel like would end in a bad situation.
Well, it might. The other reason I was thinking of, we noticed in the herd before I'm in the one my horse is in now, is that they have like almost a military ranking. So Newman his name was large and in charge, and he was a general. And nobody approached him. His second in command would come up sometimes for advice. The second in command ran the herd.
Oh.
And nobody challenged Newman.
Okay.
Yeah, so the head horse is sort of
not
the
involved
guy
in the
you don't
day-to-day
know.
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's just the corporals and the captains and lieutenants and I don't know the.
Okay, so you take like the second rank guy or third rank guy, and he brings that.
Right.
Fair.
So then make the introduction to the herd then in the daylight. You got to be around so you can observe and watch, and you might have to go in there if something happens. Like I typically have a manure fork, lead ropes, lunge irons, gloves, helmet. I mean, I'm like ready for World War III. You don't know what's going to happen.
We need a picture of that.
Do it on a day that's not ungodly hot, because they're going to run around and sweat a little bit. It shouldn't be a day where there's like mud or ice on the ground. So it's, be smart about the day that you pick.
Set yourself up for success.
That's perfect. Well said. Okay. Also, be strategic about timing on that day of all days. Do it like after they've all eaten, because you don't want food to be a variable in that. You want them to be sort of get that routine out of the way, and then turn out the next thing that happens, and oh look, there's a new horse. Huh? Yeah. It shouldn't be about the food. And then what you should expect is that the horses will call off the chase when they're tired. So and we noticed this. So we introduced my horse to one, and he decided Stan was his baby.
Stan's your new horse.
Yeah, and he wouldn't actually let any of the other horses come up.
Aww.
And he's like, mine. So then we said, that's great, Uncle Waldo. And then we introduced Stan to Teddy. And Teddy's more the age of Stan. He has lots of play in him. So they ran and they played face tag and they reared and they did all this stuff for about 20 minutes. And
wow.
Yeah. And finally, then they went, let's eat. And then they just grazed. Laura and I were like, I was done. So we went out to check them because we saw some really aggressive behavior. Not a mark on him.
Really?
Not a mark on either horse.
Wow.
And it was really rough horseplay. And we're like, wow, these big animals did all this stuff and not a scratch on them.
They knew how to play gently-ish.
My gosh, so let's see. And then just for a couple of weeks after, just watch everybody, because when they come in, they're going to have bites and kicks and stuff. But mine went really well, so I think if you follow this advice, yours could go really well too.
Yeah, because it can definitely, there's so many
It
variables
cannot
that
go
can
well.
go into it. You have to
Yeah.
be very strategic, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So keep them separate paddocks for the time being so they can all kind of observe each other. Take the middle ranking guy in to kind of make friends and introduce him to the rest of the herd. Maybe remove the back shoes.
Yep.
And don't
Make sure
feed-
your place is safe.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then make sure food is not a variable,
Right,
which is
right.
all, I think, great advice. So let us know how that works out. Hopefully your herd will be making friends shortly. So on to question number 3. This was submitted by Jasmine on the SmartPak forum at smartpak.com/askthevetquestions. So Jasmine wants to know, I just got a new horse 3 days ago, and he's adjusting not so well. We were told not to pasture him with mares, so we didn't. There are mares in the pasture across from him, and he paces the fence line. Other than moving the mare pasture, what can I do? And then the second part of the question is, he's not drinking much water. We've tried Gatorade and alfalfa tea, and he doesn't like it. What are some other flavored drinks I can try? Again, we've had lots of questions about horses moving to barns, and we can put that in the description for you guys as well. But it sounds like she's got quite a lot going on in the last 3 days.
Yeah, and this one is a little bit more problematic than the one we just answered, because I'm going to have to read between the lines here. So she was told not to put the new horse in with mares. So maybe he's aggressive, maybe he's studly, he's a gelding, but he's still got some masculine characteristics. But it makes me wonder, so is he alone or is he with geldings, do you think?
I guess based on how I was observing it, I would say he's alone.
Okay.
But because he just moved there, so.
Because if she could find a gelding to put him with, that would be helpful, because he's not drinking, and I would guess if he's walking the fence line with his head over, looking at the mares, thinking about jumping over and joining him, he needs another horse.
Yeah.
Right. So that would be one piece of advice I would give her. The other is, he's not drinking water not because he doesn't like the taste of it or anything. He's just, all he can think about is girls. I get it. girls. So I don't know that flavoring the water is going to be the fix. I think the fix is giving him another equine companion that is not a girl.
Okay, so he just needs a buddy. He needs a guy friend.
Needs a buddy. So as far as the drinking goes, rather than try to flavor the water, I would maybe add salt to the diet slowly, because you don't want to turn him off food either. This is a horse that's on the cusp. He's going to lose weight with all the pacing, right? So I would add salt to this horse's diet. I would probably add a digestive supplement to support him, because he's stressed out.
Well, probably with all the pacing too, there's probably a lot of sweating going on, so doing electrolyte or salt could help replenish some of that as well.
Yeah, and encourage him to drink.
Yeah.
Make sure those fences are in good repair, and I'd get him a buddy. Yeah, and make sure and get him eating and drinking with some salt, some electrolytes, and some supplements.
I know. I wonder if he was like recently gelded or something like that, or
It could be, or they're just some geldings who aren't. They didn't get the memo that they're geldings, and they're like girls. So he needs a buddy.
Well, hopefully that helps, and definitely keep us posted with it, and share any tips and tricks you've learned along the way.
Yeah.
All right, so on to question number 4. This was submitted by Megan on the SmartPak forum. And Megan would like to know, what is the most effective yet safe way to properly disinfect grooming tools, tack, water troughs, feed buckets, etc.? Also, how often do you recommend disinfecting? This is a great question.
We get a lot too.
Why? And we should all be doing it. We're probably more than we should be.
You may be surprised at my answer.
Oh, okay. But also, fun fact,
Okay.
This is Megan's 5th win, including 3 months in a row that she's had a question answered.
Nice.
Megan knows how to get her
I
questions
wonder if
voted
she's
in.
stacking up her gift certificates or like buying something each
Oh,
time.
like a big shopping spree right around holiday season? Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Congrats, Megan.
Good, and they're good questions. So before I get into this and forget, I want to give you guys a great resource. It's the Equine Disease Communication Center, and we'll put the link up on there, but there's a whole page on there about disinfection, biosecurity.
Biosecurity.
Yeah, and I'll read the definition of biosecurity.
It sounds very scary.
It's defined as procedures intended to protect humans and or animals against disease or harmful biologic agents, and includes things like quarantining new arrivals, isolating sick horses, and practicing good hygiene on and off the farm. So that's biosecurity. And vets are trained in this.
Okay.
That's one of the courses we take in vet school is biosecurity. So your vet will know how to clean and disinfect. And you'll notice that a veterinarian will always say clean and disinfect. We never use the word disinfect alone. And there's a reason for that. The reason is disinfectants are inactivated, most of them, in the presence of organic matter. So a disinfectant that a human hospital might use might not work at all on the farm because organic material is feces, urine, it's blood, it's any kind of discharge.
Basically anything that's at the barn.
Yeah, anything that comes like out of or off your horse will render the disinfectant inactive, ineffective. So you have to clean first. And here's the cool thing, and I learned this again in vet school from Dr. Gordon Baker. Thank you, Dr. Baker. That just good old soap is a great way to reduce the bacteria.
Just regular soap.
Yeah, and back in my day, we just had soap. Now we have antibacterial soap, which is, to a veterinarian, is a little bit of an oxymoron because all soap is antibacterial.
You mean it's just like a marketing term?
Maybe. So when you clean with soap, and you can use soap, if you're going to follow up with a disinfectant, you would use something called detergent, and they're related but different enough to be important. But when you clean with soap or detergent, it removes or kills 90% of the bacteria.
Wow.
So you only have 10% left.
Oh, small.
Disinfectants only get 6 to 7% of the remaining amount.
Okay, so you still got a couple percentages left.
Yeah, because you're not sterilizing, and you can never sterilize a barn, right? It's just the surfaces are too porous for that. You can't even sterilize, if it's steel or plastic or concrete. I mean, they're just too porous. They may not look like it to the human eye, but the bacteria is so small. So cleaning is really the best thing, and I would say, I mean, good old elbow grease, is clean stuff more regularly than you are doing, and maybe don't worry about disinfecting maybe once a year, maybe just after there's an outbreak of something.
Really?
Because here's the reason. Disinfectants are organism specific. So let's say bleach, very common. It's cheap. You can get it at the grocery store. Everybody knows how to use bleach. I mean, you should always read the label, but that's pretty common stuff. But it's probably the worst at retaining its effectiveness in the presence of organic matter.
Okay.
So as soon as there's any sort of, manure, it doesn't work anymore.
So that's like
useless. Yeah, it's a waste of money, waste of time, and it gives you sort of a false sense of security. So cleaning is really the best thing. Now, management practices, this is part of biosecurity, are really where you should spend your time and energy. So management practices are, shock of all shocks, the best thing you can do, wash your hands. I know, everyone's taking
mind blown.
The best you can do is wash your hands or use a hand sanitizer. Not allow visitors to go from horse to horse.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know you're waiting for this word. Fomite.
Oh, yes.
Fomite is when an inanimate object, like my clipboard, if I go from stall to stall and set it down and pick it up and then take it to the next stall and set it down, this then has picked up germs, pathogens, bacteria.
Carrying it everywhere.
And I'm putting it in each stall. Fomites can be hoses. I went to a show once and I had a friend to come and she's like, oh, I'll fill up his water bucket. And I turn around and there was music from a horror movie as I see her with the community facility hose in Newman's bucket. You can imagine
the look on your face, probably.
Oh, I think I tackled her. Oh, we're no longer friends. But That's just no. So it's interesting to watch like a veterinarian set their stall up at a show.
Oh, I can only imagine what your stall looks like.
No, you'd be shocked. It's clean. And it is, I do not share equipment. Like if there's a water trough at a show facility,
Yeah.
I could let my horse near it. What? He doesn't, I don't walk up and down the shed row and see a horse and go, oh, let's smell noses. No. So it's biosecurity in all things. I think if you put your energy towards that versus disinfecting, because to disinfect, you have to know what you're disinfecting against.
Yeah.
So it's great after a strangles outbreak, during or after an influenza outbreak, or if herpes virus goes through your barn.
Because you know what disinfectant to use.
Exactly. And don't forget, your vet knows what disinfectant to use, because we classify bugs as like gram-positive, gram-negative, enveloped viruses, non-enveloped, and your disinfectants will all say on there, kills gram-positive bacteria, like a strep.
Okay.
That has strangles. Okay, so if it kills the gram-positive bacteria, I'll recommend that.
Okay.
So ask your vet, because they know all these things, and they'll probably tell you, if you want to disinfect, great, but there's lots of other things you can do. Don't forget this. Important things are, after you clean, let something sit in the sun. In fact, pick a day that's a bright sunny day, because sunlight, UV light, is one of the best disinfectants, and it's free.
That's what we all love, because
I know.
horses are expensive.
And you may need to rinse, and air drying is super good too, because when something air dries, the bacteria, the cell wall, will, you can imagine if something has water sucked out of it, it dies. I mean, the bacteria cell will die if it's allowed to air dry.
We're going to see people's barns now have stuff laid out all across the front of it.
When I clean my brushes, I don't disinfect them. I just clean them, and then I lay them out in the sun. I watch the forecast. I wait for 2 sunny days in a row, and I lay them out in the sun.
Doesn't get much easier than that.
That's how I disinfect.
Who doesn't love that? So just more about general being clean around the barn, cleaning up after yourself, and only
Being
disinfecting about around if there's an outbreak of some sort.
If there's an outbreak, or if you want to do, I'm not going to discourage you from doing it, but all disinfectants are toxic. They cost money. You have to do them correctly, like dilute them correctly. You have to read the label as far as they might not even be compatible with the detergent you used. If you use the wrong detergent, like the soap is a cation and the disinfectant's an anion, it doesn't work. It's ineffective.
But you feel good about it. It doesn't do anything.
But then it's a false sense of security. So I think keeping stuff clean is the way to go.
And don't let them share that water trough.
No, do not put hoses in the water buckets. Oh.
Well, on to question number 5. This one was submitted by Emma on our YouTube channel. And Emma wants to know, what are your thoughts regarding long-term Equioxx use in riding horses? Assuming blood work indicates no areas of concern, is there any benefit to doing a 2-day per week break or any other intermittent breaks from the drug if a horse is on it for an extended period of time? This is the 3rd month in a row that Emma has submitted this exact question. So Emma is dedicated and she really would like to know the answer, and good job sticking with it.
I get it, because one of my horses is retired now and he is going on Equioxx.
Yeah.
First of all, how did you say it?
I said Equioxx.
Okay, I said Equioxx. Well, I called the company that makes it. The original manufacturer was Marielle. They got purchased or acquired by Berger Ingelheim. So I called Tech Services at BI. Okay. They say Equioxx.
Ooh.
So I think
let's all move forward.
I think we've been saying it wrong, Dan. All right, so it's Equioxx. All right. So it's an NSAID, which is a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, and it's cool because it's a COX-2 only. So it's supposed to be safer. They did a ton of safety studies. They did, like the label says, this is why I think her terms are, she mentioned 2 weeks. The label says 14 days. So their first safety test was 14 days.
After 14 days, take a break?
Stop using it. Yeah. And then they also did like 35 days, 42 days. I think they went out as far as 150 days on safety studies.
Wow.
And they also used 1x dose, like 3x, 5x, and a 12.5x.
Wow.
Yeah, and I won't go through all of it, but the important thing is, in 14 days at the 1x dose, no adverse events were seen.
Okay.
All right, so it's safe. When they began to go longer, or they used more than the 1x dose, they began to see adverse events. So
going longer than 14 days without a break. Is that what you're...
Well, and you say break, and I mean stop it. Now I'll tell you this.
Just using the words that she was using. So
Yeah. And I'm. Here's what I can say. All that we can say on a video that is going public is what's on the label.
Fair.
Right?
Fair.
Yeah, the company, I mean, they go to a lot of money, like millions of dollars, to get that label approved.
Yeah.
This is a question she should ask her vet, because her vet can do what I did and call tech services at BI, and they actually have a protocol for long-term use to monitor safety. It says on the label to do blood work, and she mentioned that, so that's good. But there are other things that owners can look for. The first thing that happens when a horse is having an adverse reaction to this is they have erosions and ulcers of the gums, tongue, lips, and face.
Okay.
So if you see those, then it's time to stop, contact your vet, probably do blood work, and rethink. They said there are some horses that just cannot tolerate this, like at all. So
which happens with medications.
Exactly, yeah. So, but other things that could happen with this are weight loss, colic, diarrhea, icterus, jaundice, so yellowing of the whites of the eyes and the skin. Yeah, so here's all the safety data. So there is a protocol. It's one that your veterinarian should be involved in, and also this drug is not innocuous. I mean, 14 days, 1x dose, yes, but if you want to use it long term, you really need to have your veterinarian involved in it, because I know there's bottles of Equioxx sitting in barns and people are just giving it out like candy. It's not candy. It's not. You can do some serious, permanent, lethal damage to a horse's kidneys with this that you can't come back from.
Well, I was going to say, I know I ride stock horses and we have a lot of navicular, and so it has become very popular amongst this group because it's very effective. But to your point, it is not just
it's not candy. It's not gummy bears or something. But so any horse that's on this for more than the 14-day label claim needs to be working with the veterinarian to make sure that the protocol they're on is safe, and that they know the signs to look for in their horse. The first signs of maybe it's been too long, but the label does recommend blood work. I just did blood work on Newman. It came back great because there was a little ulcer, and I'm like, oh my God, he's dying, and it was just an ulcer from like a weed or something. So it wasn't the product. But so I'm going to keep him on longer. But yeah, she needs to involve the vet and work with that vet to get a protocol that's appropriate for her horse and her situation.
Perfect. Well, Emma, I hope that was helpful, and thank you for your commitment in trying to get that question answered the last couple months.
Yeah.
But that's it for this episode. So thank you guys so much for taking the time to submit your questions. Make sure to keep on asking so we have more for next month's episode.
And if, like Emma, if you don't get your question answered, just keep submitting it, and
persistence
maybe it'll
is key.
Rise to the top.
So you can ask your questions on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the SmartPak blog, and our forum at smartpak.com/askthevetquestions. Just make sure to use hashtag #AskTheVetVideo. Questions submitted by October 10th will be eligible for that video. And of course, if you had a question answered in this video or in our previous one, make sure to reach out to CustomerCare at smartpak.com so you can claim your SmartPak gift
Megan,
card.
we're talking about you.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much again, and make sure to subscribe and have a great ride.